This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Did Steve Bannon betray you, Mr. President? Any words about Steve Bannon?
I don't know. He called me a great man last night, so, he obviously changed his tune pretty quick.
Fire and Fury, a new book about the first year in the Trump White House, and it doesn't portray a pretty picture with claims the president is unfit for office and often acts like a child. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the week in Washington in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin tonight with allegations of sexual assault and harassment against Tony-winning actor Ben Vereen while he was directing a play right here on the Suncoast. Vereen is being accused by several women of assault while he was directing a production at the Venice Community Theater. One actress says she worked with Vereen while he was directing Hair, and she claims Vereen invited her and several other women to his rental home on several occasions and forced himself on them and threatened her.
He said, "I want you to kiss me," and I said, I do not want to kiss you, and then he reached around the back of my head and pressed my face towards it and kissed me.
Vereen has released a statement on his Facebook page apologizing for his actions and says he will come to terms with his past conduct. For years, Florida's leaders, both Republican and Democrat, have said no to offshore drilling off the coast. But tonight, the Trump administration is announcing plans to do just that. The plan proposes opening 90% of the outer continental shelf to drilling exploration, including the majority of the eastern Gulf of Mexico for the first time since 1988. Those behind the plan in Washington say it can be a huge boost to the country's economy and the goal of energy independence, but locally we're already seeing pushback.
You felt horrible for the people in the Panhandle, but it's terrible. You're thinking, please keep it up there. Don't let it take the whole coast of Florida.
The outer continental shelf is under federal jurisdiction outside of state law. An investigation is underway into the cause of a fire that left 17 people homeless last night in Bradenton. The fire started at Sun Chase Apartments off of 59th Street West around 6:30. There were 8 apartments in the building, and the fire heavily damaged 4 of them. The other 4 suffered smoke damage. The Red Cross was on the scene to help those find shelter who have no place to stay. No one was hurt, but 4 pets did die in the fire. This week's massive winter storm is still impacting thousands of travelers across the country and here on the Suncoast. 5 flights were canceled today at the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport. The flights were to and from northeast cities like New York and Boston. A North Florida congressman and favorite of President Trump is entering the race for governor. Congressman Ron DeSantis announcing his candidacy this morning, just weeks after President Trump tweeted he would make a great governor. DeSantis is a Navy veteran and graduate of both Yale and Harvard. He has represented Northeast Florida since 2013. Last night, we talked about how retailers on the Suncoast did during the holiday season. It appeared to be a good holiday season to retailers statewide as well. Overall, sales numbers were up between 5% and 6% nationally, surpassing the projected 3 to 3.5% increase. The sales increase is the largest year-to-year gain since 2011. Technology and appliance stores saw the largest bump in business this holiday season, with sales increases of greater than 10%.
People still want to shop, and they want to shop whenever and wherever they want to do it, whether that's in person, whether that's on their couch, whether that's, on their laptop or on their iPhone, walking around, downtown. And the retailer that captures that market the best is the one that's going to be able to be most successful.
According to Miller, sales during the holiday shopping season typically make up 20 to 40% of retailers' business for the entire year. An act of kindness by the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will donate 1,000 playoff tickets to refugees who were displaced by Hurricane Maria and are now settling in the Jacksonville area. The team will also donate 1,500 tickets to local military members at a reduced cost of $20 a ticket for Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. The Jags have not had a home playoff game since 1999. With a look at the weather and how it's affecting music on Maine, let's go to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. I'll tell you, a beautiful night out here, albeit a little chilly, but with a jacket, it doesn't feel bad at all. Got this ABC7 little neck warmer too you can pick up at our ABC7 booth, where some folks are lined up right now. A lot of dancers out here too, enjoying this great music right now from Robin and the Retros, playing some 60s, 70s, and 80s music. Here's the weather. Watches and warnings, none for us. It looks good here. No freeze, no frost. It will be cold, don't get me wrong, but we're not looking at an extreme condition here, as the freeze warning is well to our north. And as far as we're concerned, temperatures will drop down. Upper 30s, low 40s near the coast, and then mid 30s east of I-75. Right now it's 50 in Sarasota, and 40s up to the north. Not much of a factor when it comes to wind, because the winds are rather light, less than 5 miles an hour right here. Your evening planner looks like this. Temperature 42 by 11 o'clock. A few clouds around in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but we're not anticipating much in terms of heavy cloud cover over the upcoming days. Just this high cloudiness coming in from a weak system moving across the Gulf of Mexico. Well, sustained winds, I mentioned, fairly light up and down the coast, anywhere from 5 to 10, really 4-mile-an-hour wind at Parrish. Here at Lakewood Ranch, it's 6. That's it. And with these buildings around, it's protecting. Surprisingly, quite a few people out here. I think they're all dancing, because that's the way to keep warm. And there are a lot of them. Tonight's event, by the way, the proceeds, some of the proceeds from the, hey, how are you guys? Proceeds benefit, again, the lacrosse team at Cardinal Mooney. Cardinal Mooney. Right now, 50. Dew point is at 26. That's extremely low. With that low of a dew point and the temperature still at 50, frost is not a concern. Usually it is with this kind of situation, but just such dry air around, we're not going to see any kind of widespread frost. North winds are at 5. The pressure, 30, 33. That continues to rise. Surfing USA right now, the Beach Boys. Some of the music being played right there with a lot of people out there dancing and keeping warm. Back to you.
Bob, and still to come, new year, new allegations. The first week of 2018 starts with the release of a book telling us what those around President Trump really think about him. Stay with us.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
Our nation's servicemen and women show great courage and leadership, both on and off the battlefield. When they transition to civilian life, they can apply the skills and values they learned in the military to the workplace. That's why the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is urging employers everywhere to be smart, bet on a vet. Hiring a veteran is also a great way to show your appreciation for them. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.
In Washington, President Trump's feud with his former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon is escalating. The president tweeting a new nickname for his former strategist, calling him Sloppy Steve. This comes as the White House is fielding questions over the president's mental state. ABC's Arlette Sains joins us from Washington.
A lot of the great Republican senators
on his way to Camp David,
we're making America great again. Thank you.
President Trump ignored questions about that explosive book, Fire and Fury.
Should Steve Bannon be fired?
But on Twitter, the president is fuming. He tweeted, "It's a phony book full of lies, misrepresentations, and sources that don't exist." Mr. Trump is also giving a new nickname to his former chief strategist, tweeting, "He's the leaker known as Sloppy Steve Bannon." The behind-the-scenes look at the White House is already flying off shelves. The book's author told NBC those around the president have concerns about his mental state.
Let me put a marker in the sand here. 100% of the people around him.
On Fox News, the press secretary disputed that suggestion.
It's absolutely outrageous to make these types of accusations, and it's simply untrue.
The pushback comes as another twist emerges in the Russia investigation. The New York Times reports the president asked his top White House lawyer to try to stop Attorney General Jeff Sessions from recusing himself. The paper reports White House counsel Don McGahn did lobby Sessions, but the Attorney General stepped aside from the probe. The New York Times also reports days before James Comey was fired, Sessions wanted an aide to find political dirt on the FBI director. The Justice Department disputes that reporting, saying it did not happen and would not happen, plain and simple. The top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee wants McGahn to appear before the committee to explain his role in reportedly lobbying Sessions. He's encouraging McGahn to voluntarily testify before they have to compel him to do so. Arlette Sains, ABC News, Washington.
A week this tumultuous demands a supersized trapezoid of the Suncoast's best political all-stars from both political parties and the world of journalism. If that won't get you to stay tuned, I don't know what will.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
To be able to just get my son here and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local boys and girls clubs. Great futures start here.
For more than 100 years, American Humane Association has been teaching kids to be kind to animals. Those in our homes, on the farms, on the silver screen, and wildlife conservation, caring for the world's vanishing creatures. But we can't do it alone. Visit kindness100.org to find ways to teach kids how they can make a more caring, compassionate, and humane world for all of us.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android.
Welcome back. Well, so much for easing into the new year. Who would imagine a bizarre tweet by the President of the United States boasting about the size of his nuclear button would be overshadowed just days later by a book quoting his former chief strategist and other members of the White House cast? If you're a supporter of the president, you may well be writing just this off as just more white noise. If you're a Democrat or a Republican who's just not on the Trump train, some of the revelations are downright alarming. Steve Bannon claiming Don Jr.'s meeting with the Russians at Trump Tower was treasonous, claims that the then Chief of Staff and Treasury Secretary called the president an idiot. His chief economic advisor says he's dumb. National Security Advisor calls him a dope. The president doesn't read, doesn't even skim briefing papers, sits in bed at night eating cheeseburgers and watching TV. And that doesn't even scratch the surface of it or even touch the more personal issues. Hey, it's out there, folks, and the president has been tweeting his thoughts about it all week. And joining us for more, we welcome former state Republican State Representative Ray Pilon, former Sarasota Democratic Chair Rita Ferrandino, Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March, and the author of The Runner-Up Presidency, Mark Weston. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And Ray, I'm going to start with you, because I have a lot of Republican friends who see this stuff on a daily basis, and as I said, it's just white noise. Others are, really concerned about it. What are you hearing out there? What are you thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking is it's noise, whether it's white noise, whether it's true or not. I think it's ridiculous for somebody to write a book because they've got a personal grievance against a guy that threw him out of the White House. I'm not happy with the large amount of tweets and language. Do I still think the principles of the party are correct? Yes, but when we're in the United States of America, and I've been involved in politics a long time and in public service for a long time, it just absolutely disappoints me. Is it white noise? Well, a lot of it is. Is it something that we should promote and continue to do? Well, I guess if you're on Rita's side of the fence, yeah, you want to. And I think if the tables were turned, we'd do the same thing. Well,
let me ask you, when you hear some of the allegations in the book, and some of these quotes are not just by Steve Bannon, who obviously has a grudge, but by other members of the White House staff, the former Deputy Chief of Staff, basically accusing the president of acting like a child, as we said, not reading briefing papers, not really listening to a lot of people. Are you concerned about that's how the White House is being run?
I would be concerned if I knew it was true, and I don't know whether it's true or not. I'd like to have been a fly on the wall when those statements were made. However, if those people would like to come forward and state what they stated to Steve Bannon publicly, then we've got something to talk about.
Well, a lot of them are putting their names on it.
Well, they put their names on it, but whether they'll actually come through or not. And the ones that put their names on it, sure, if that's the way they feel. But then it's just like anything else. Are they disgruntled? Are they disappointed because they haven't been able to do what they wanted to do in the White House or in the East, in the West Wing? You just don't know their motivations. Ellen, it very well could be that I'm not calling these people liars. And hopefully all that truth will come out.
Meanwhile, Rita, a lot of Democrats are just pulling their hair out.
Yes, they are.
I mean, they're pulling their hair out, and how do you react when you hear a lot of Republicans? I mean, this is just washing over them because they're looking at really positive economic numbers. They're looking at a GOP tax bill that was passed into law, and they're saying, look at our accomplishments, and all this other stuff really just doesn't matter.
Well, there's been very few accomplishments. There's one tax plan that was put through at the very last minute with very little public opinion and public weighing in on. But I think what is really important here in Sarasota and how this is going to affect local elections, which really is what we care about here in Sarasota, is there's no way around it. Sarasota is ground zero for Donald Trump. The Republican Party, Joe Gruters, who is a House of Representative, and Vern Buchanan gave Donald Trump the Statesman of the Year award twice here in Sarasota County. So how is that going to play back? How is Donald Trump and everything that's going on in the White House and the dysfunction, how's that going to affect us locally?
So what are they saying? What are you saying, that they should have been careful about what they asked for? What they did, probably.
We only have a couple seconds left here, but is this the same dynamic throughout the Tampa Bay area, that either if you don't like Trump, you don't like what you've heard here, but Republicans, this really is not resonating with them?
Well, yes, I think it is. I mean, the Tampa Bay area has always been a pretty good political microcosm of the country as a whole. But there are polls showing that over the last few months that Trump's base, that hardcore who don't accept any criticism of him, has shrunk. It's not entirely invulnerable to this news.
And that we're going to be talking about how it's going to affect local races in a moment. Mark, also, I mean, you've studied presidential politics. We have not seen this before like this.
There has never been a president who won't even read one-page summaries of the issues. Some of the things in this new book say that they would have to underline in yellow his name whenever it appeared just to get him to look at the page. If anyone doesn't read, then the person in control are the people in the room who are reading, who are presenting him with the options. You know, it's whoever says to the president, here are your three options, that's the person actually running things, not Trump himself, if he doesn't read.
We are just getting warmed up. We'll have much more on the week in politics right after we check the First Alert weather. Stay with us.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon? You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
My name's Luke Perry, and I am 1 million strong. I'm in the fight against colorectal cancer because I believe we can win it. Colon and rectal cancers are the second leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women in the U.S. Colon cancer is preventable. Know the risk factors and make sure to get screened. There are simple, take-home options available. Take control of your health. Screening for colon cancer isn't embarrassing. It can be life-saving. To find out more about your options, visit fightcrc.org.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back and affecting your health?
Did you see this? Your cousin had a heart attack.
Really?
Excess weight or obesity can be serious, but you can do something about it. Visit yourweightmatters.org. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
Welcome back. We're talking about the week in politics, and joining us for more, we welcome former Republican State Representative Ray Pilon, former Sarasota Democratic Chair Rita Ferrandino, Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March, and the author of The Runner-Up Presidency, Mark Weston. From what you know, and I can't imagine you've read the entire book by Michael Wolff yet, but from what you have gleaned from the reporting this week, what concerns you the most, Mark?
Well, 100% of the people that he talked to said that he's unfit for the presidency and that he's essentially an overgrown child. These are both very disturbing traits.
Ray, you know, I would imagine you're saying again that that's a generalization of everybody that Michael Wolff talked to. You have to believe the author. And sure. This, as Rita admitted, this is the center of Trump country in Florida. And so is it just anger that this stuff just keeps on coming out, or what?
Number one, yes, there is anger among a lot of the, and I can't speak for every Republican I know, but the ones that I'm in contact with on a daily basis on Facebook and other things and personally, are angry that we have to put up with this stuff. Well, my response to them is well, who's causing it? Well, it's maybe the president causes it himself sometimes, and then anybody on the opposing side certainly would take advantage of that. So what positive comes out of that? I don't think anything positive comes out of it.
The apple rots from the top. That's it. That's what Republicans have to face, is the fact that this is all happening because you've got somebody at the top who is behaving in a manner causing a lot of this. It isn't all.
No, you're correct, Rita, and I know exactly what you're saying. And like I said, if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd be saying the same thing. So my point is what positive comes out of any of this? Nothing. And that's what concerns me with all the things that we have to do in this country, with mental health and the environment and everything else. And I put a little finger, Alan, on Congress a little bit too.
In terms of what?
The fact is that you have, and of course, you always have the Senate and the House, whether it's the state level or in Congress, doing these things. Well, by the way, I didn't read all that bill called Obamacare, but that's okay.
Right. Well, let me move on here, because as I said at the outset, this whole thing about this book this week overshadowed how the week began, and that was with the president's quote on North Korea, talking about how North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Well, someone from his depleted and food-starved regime, please inform him that I too have a nuclear button, but it is much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works. I mean, these are words coming out of a president that we have never seen before, Wendy. And again, the question to you is, does this basically fly over people in our area here, or are people stopping for a moment and considering these words? And if you're a Trump fan, just saying, yeah, attaboy.
Well, there's a new political world out there. It's different from the way things have been in the past. It just is. I mean, here you have two arguably delusory, narcissistic national leaders trolling each other. It would be hilarious if they weren't talking about nuclear war.
Yeah.
I mean, next thing you know, they'll be comparing their hand sizes or their head sizes or their haircuts. They're the two worst-haired national leaders on the globe. But as to whether it's affecting people, I cling to the belief that people do listen, and that over a period of time it does change their view. But people have to be pried off of what caused them to vote for Trump in the first place, and there were reasons that they did.
Again, I want to get your thoughts about how this resonates. The president of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass, who is a pretty conservative guy, said on TV this week, the portrait of an unfit president in a dysfunctional administration at a time that the world is characterized by mounting disarray adds up to a truly dangerous moment in history. The best that can be hoped for is drift. The worst is to be feared is a disaster of some magnitude somewhere.
Tough talk sounds great until it goes wrong. Even if Kim's nuclear button doesn't work, even if half the equipment in poor North Korea doesn't work, even with half their equipment, they can still kill hundreds of thousands of South Koreans in a half an hour if things get out of hand. And that would really rock the world economy. The Dow would go down thousands of points in days.
Ray, I know you said that you're concerned about the tweets. A lot of Republicans say, hey, look, General Mattis is there, General Kelly is there, Rex Tillerson's there. Just don't worry.
Well, no, I think there's worry because whenever you're dealing with a radical government like that, and his stability in North Korea is obviously in doubt. But I'm just wondering that when Ronald Reagan was president, whether if Twitter was around, whether he would have had a Twitter similar to that. To me, I think it would probably be a little more a little more direct, because I'll quote him, just paraphrase him. You know, he said, "No war that we've ever been in has been won because or gotten into because the America was weak."
Well, let me put this in context. I do remember. I am old enough to remember Ronald Reagan's offhand joke with an open mic about, you know, let the bombs, you know, fly on Russia, and yes, there were jokes about it, Rita, but it did underscore his resoluteness in terms of handling the Soviet Union.
And there are ways to be able to show power and not be doing it in a way that is narcissistic, playing with fire. So I completely go back to my point, which is I don't want to rely on the generals and the people around him. I want to see our president being in a position of responsible behavior. And so I think his tweeting is irresponsible.
Okay, we have much more to get into, and we'll be back right after this.
Every week on Animal Outtakes, it's a new adventure. From meeting curious lemurs to feeding big cats and hosing down rhinos, there's never a dull moment. And sometimes these amazing animals chime in. Tune in to Animal Outtakes to find out what they have to say. Watch Animal Outtakes every week on ABC7.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 78.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
My name is Haley. I have Fragile X syndrome. I work with Chartwells at Einstein's and FAU. I like being up front and interacting with students. The students are very nice and very hungry. Having a job is a big ticket for independence.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
I'm Deshauna Barber. In 2016, I was proud to win the title of Miss USA. What makes me just as proud is my service in the U.S. military. In the service, a soldier gains skills and learns values like discipline and leadership. That makes them an asset to any business that hires them. If you're an employer, on behalf of Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. Visit saluteheroes.org or call this number to learn more.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
Welcome back. We're talking about the week in politics. And Wendy, I think you wanted to finish up with when we were talking about what Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s and making that offhand joke, I believe when he was recording his weekly radio address about let the bombs fly on Russia. What's the point?
Well, I would only say that what Reagan said under that open mic that you mentioned was obviously a joke. And if Reagan had had a Twitter account, agree with him or disagree with him, he was a lighthearted, optimistic, warm-hearted person, and that would have been reflected in his Twitter account, much different from Donald Trump's. The concern that I have is the kind of bluster that we see from Trump sounds more like a third world country than it does like the United States of America. It totally violates the idea, the Roosevelt maxim, speak softly and carry a big stick.
One of the revelations we also had this week is that the president tried to get Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, not to recuse himself from oversight of the Russia investigation, and that underscores the investigation of the special counsel into possibly whether there was an obstruction of justice. Ray, when this came out yesterday, it was reported by the New York Times. What were your thoughts?
never heard of such a thing before from an administration to do that. Now, things may have happened that didn't get out like that in other administrations, but I think I mentioned to you earlier, there's a difference to me between leadership and a leader. If you're in a position of leadership, which our president is, you can do pretty much what you want, and you can say what you want to who you want. Whether it's right or not, he has to live with that. A leader is somebody that would then again have people follow him. If he had an issue with Sessions, should have been privately talked about, and they should have hashed it out. But he didn't. So I was very disturbed by that.
Well, but still, there are a lot of Republicans here on the Suncoast and elsewhere who say a year after this investigation into possible Russian collusion began, we have not seen in black and white evidence of collusion between the president's campaign and Russia. So therefore, how could you have obstruction of justice if you don't have an underlying crime?
Well, yes, a year has passed, but the Watergate investigation took longer than a year, and Republicans are still demanding more investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails after 2 years, or 2 years or more. I think I read the AP version of this story. They reported that Robert Mueller was aware of Trump trying to prevent Sessions from recusing himself. And this is another potential brick in a possible obstruction of justice case. Now that Mueller has been, and the reporting, the journalism has been circling Trump and circling him and circling closer and closer in, but it hasn't put the finger on Trump yet.
Mark, still you have Republicans in Congress. I'm thinking about Congressman Matt Gaetz from the Florida Panhandle and Congressman Francis Rooney from Naples, who are basically saying that the Mueller investigation does not have credibility at this point. And are you concerned if that is going to be their line, that whatever the special prosecutor does is going to, not go anywhere when his report comes out?
I'm amazed they can take a line that strikes me as very unintelligent. They don't know what's going on in the Mueller investigation. This is perhaps the most professional investigator in the country. If he has something, it's going to be solid. If he doesn't have something, he will tell people he doesn't have anything. So I'm amazed that they would.
Well, Matt Gaetz and I worked together, and he was my chairman of the Criminal Justice Committee. He is the most conservative person in the Panhandle I've ever run across as far as going that far. It doesn't surprise me that Matt says that. He's very boisterous. He's very much likes his Twitter and likes to cause controversy. And
are you concerned by what he has been saying about questioning the special counsel? And same thing with Francis Rooney. I mean, he was talking about dark state stuff and purges of the FBI.
Congressman Rooney surprises me in his statements. Matt does not. And so they both concern me. I think they ought to both stay out of it. And because you're causing problems with your other members who are not. And that's when we get the Rand Paul group and then the more moderates. If you don't hear from them right now because they're not saying those things that those two are.
All right, so the big question is, what is all this having in terms of the state of local politics, and what does it portend for the midterms, and when are we going to start seeing evidence? We have a special election coming up, House 72. Rita, we keep hearing that Democrats are energized out there, but still this district may be the least Republican district in our area, but they still have a 5-point advantage.
The Republicans have a 5-point advantage. It's Ray's old seat. But I think what we're seeing on the Democratic side is that we've got a very competent woman running for the seat who is very capable, and the base is fired up to get out to vote. The vote-by-mail ballots go in the mail on Wednesday of next week. The election is here. And I think it goes back to what is going on with the Donald Trump and Verne's being tied to Donald Trump and Joe Gruder's being tied and Sarasota being so tied to Donald Trump. I think that's what's really firing up the base to get out to vote for Margaret Good. James Buchanan, Vern Buchanan's son, there's a lot of similarities between James and Donald Jr. They're both sons of wealthy men, all of that. But that's what the public is seeing, and that's what you asked was going to happen with local elections.
We're going to stay with that in just a moment, but we have to take a quick break, so we'll be back in just a moment.
Fact.
The top 3 Marriott hotels in North and South America are on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, according to a recent survey of 363 Marriott hotels. The Marriott at Grand National, the Marriott Shoals Hotel, and the Grand Hotel. And 2 of the top 3 Renaissance hotels are also on the trail, Ross Bridge in Birmingham and the Battle House in Mobile. Southern hospitality still rules. For reservations or information, visit rtjgolf.com/resorts.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
And our guests join us right for final thoughts. And Ray, I want to start with you because House 72 is your former seat. We're talking about whether this race is a fair representation of where the area is politically right now, but it's a unique race where James Buchanan, the congressman's son, is not doing public appearances in terms of co-appearances with his opponents or many interviews or anything like that. So is that a fair representation of where the area is politically right now?
Well, I think there's some valid points to that. Number one, as I told you, I can't speak for James. I've met with him, had lunch. I knew him when he was a little kid. But other than that, I don't know anything about him because I haven't been able to get any information about him either.
You certainly haven't seen him on TV.
No, but different philosophies. The last person that did that was Dan Miller when he was in Congress, but he didn't have anybody running against him that was worthwhile. He didn't have to debate at Tiger Bay, and he was entrenched. But to get to your point, I think it's indicative of the times. Number one, we have a unique situation in Sarasota where the person that took my spot decided she didn't like it anymore and left. Well, the timing was, and I've talked to her, I think that she actually thought that the special election would take place before session was completely over. Now it's not. This is a travesty for my district, and it makes me very, very sad that we have to go through this.
So, Wendy, what do we make of this all in terms of this special election and the other candidates, Democrats from around the area who are jumping into these races in districts that have not been contested in the recent past?
Well, Rita, like other Democrats, has been talking for a year about how there's going to be a surge, a Democratic surge in 2018 because of Trump resistance, but there's not been a lot of tangible evidence in Florida that they could point to prove it. This week we began to see some hints of possible evidence of that in Democratic candidates getting off the bench, jumping into the fray. Gus Bilirakis in Pinellas County and Vern Buchanan here in Sarasota both drew serious Democratic challengers, even though they're Republican incumbents running in Republican-leaning districts. The District 72 race that Ray was talking about will be a good test of whether Democrats are so energized that they can come out and flip a Republican-leaning district.
Mark, I was talking to one former member of Congress this week who said that, yeah, the president's approval ratings nationally are down, but he is unsure whether that's really going to reflect in Florida.
I think Florida is enough. It's a purple state. It's enough like the country as a whole that it will reflect. Looks like in New Jersey, Virginia, there was 8 to 9 points more Democratic than the previous year. And so you would expect the Republican office holders here to be moving toward the center, distancing themselves from Trump. And they're not, I think, perhaps because they're afraid of being primaried by someone further to the right than they are. And by the time the primaries are passed and they want to move to the center, it could be too late.
And just quickly.
It's always about being able to get out your vote. And that's what we're going to see happen with the House seat special election, who's going to be able to get out their base.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired. Just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our mega guests for being here today. Former state Republican Representative Ray Pilon, former Sarasota Democratic Chair Rita Ferrandino, Tampa Bay Times political correspondent William March, and the author of The Runner-Up Presidency, Mark Weston. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather. Plus, we are just 2 weeks away from another possible government shutdown. What are the plans of lawmakers?
Sarasota Institute of Lifetime Learning begins its 47th season on Monday, January 8th in Sarasota, Venice, and Lakewood Ranch. Meet Jamie Bernstein, music lecturer and daughter of Leonard Bernstein, on Monday, March 19th, and Hedrick Smith, Pulitzer Prize-winning former reporter for the New York Times, on Thursday, February 15th. 72 global issues lectures by renowned experts, 24 musical conversations with great performers. Subscriptions available now. Single event tickets at the door. For more information and to purchase season tickets, visit SILLSarasota.org.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Mark Zupan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Webb. The cold temperatures might be over here in our area, but that's just in time for some rain heading our way. We'll tell you what to expect on your commute throughout the week, how long the rain is expected to last, and much more. That is Monday on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Indeed we will. A series of fronts will be moving through that'll cause that rain. We'll talk about it bright and early.
Monday at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you. Now your ABC7 First Alert Weather Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
We are here at Music on Main, first Friday of the month. We have Rockin' Robin and the Retros playing a little Sly and the Family Stone. Great band, and people are out dancing. I gotta tell you, it's nice out here. It's not bad. I mean, I was just thinking if we were in Buffalo and it was 50 degrees during winter, the whole place would be packed with hundreds of thousands of people. But for Floridians, a little on the cool side, but there's a lot here with their jackets, wearing their winter clothes. They don't get a chance to do that very often, but they're doing it tonight. And there's not much of a wind, so it's not all that cold. Here's the Van Wezel webcam showing you fairly comfortable conditions tonight in terms of sunset. Get a look at this. We have some high cirrus clouds moving in overhead, creating a gorgeous sunset all up and down west central Florida. A lot of photos sent in. I'll be showing those at 11 o'clock tonight as well. You can see that right there just as the sun was going down. High pressure to the west of us, bringing us that northerly wind and a little disturbance out there in the Gulf. What to keep an eye on that. I don't think we're going to see any snow here, but again, there's a chance of getting some clouds around overnight, which will help us stay a little bit warmer than they will up north. Look at this, Jacksonville near there under a hard freeze. Daytona Beach will see freezing temperatures, but none of that for us here. We are in the clear as far as any kind of freeze or frost goes. And current conditions, we are looking at generally fair skies up and down the coast, and temperatures in the upper 40s to low 50s. The high today was only 58 degrees. This morning's low was cold, 36, and it felt like about 29 with that wind blowing. The normal high at 71, the normal low at 52. We'll be closer to those numbers by Sunday afternoon and Monday morning. And just over a ½ inch of rain reported so far for this first month of 2018. Temperatures right now, 40s over the Panhandle and 50s right here along the west coast of Florida. Right now it's 51 in Northport, 50 in Mayaca City, 52 in Punta Gorda. 51 in Cortez right now, and 51 in Venice, 53 in Inglewood. The Gulf water temperature now cooling down to 60 degrees. And as far as the forecast goes, that water temperature will continue to chill out. Tomorrow's hourly forecast, we saw that briefly. Temperatures will warm into the 60s finally. After several days in the 50s, highs will finally be back to 60, still below average, but getting warmer. Futurecast showing some of those high clouds moving from the Gulf overhead, and that will clear out of here by tomorrow midday. Should be a real nice, comfortable day on Saturday, albeit cool, but still with a high near 60. Get out there and enjoy it. Temperatures will be warming up pretty quickly into the mid-70s as early as Tuesday of next week. And the rest of the nation now, again, chilling out over the Great Lakes with bitterly cold temperatures there. As far as the boating forecast goes, we'll see small craft should exercise caution as winds will be up there a little higher. Here's the 7-day forecast. Cold conditions to start things off tomorrow. Sunshine, a high of 70 on Sunday, 76 on Monday. The chance for showers comes late in the day on Monday. Tuesday, the rain chance at 40%. Better chances Tuesday night. And then temperatures remaining warm, mid to upper 70s, so we're going to go back above average as far as temperatures go for all of next week. So you get a chance to wear all the winter clothes that you have in your closet right there just for another day or so. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
On the next Black Almanac.
As a community, we commemorate Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement, the legacy of discrimination that preceded it, the courage of those who stood up to it, and the progress the nation achieved through it, and the unfinished pursuit of equal rights that continues to this day.
Sunday morning at 7:30 on ABC7.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less. and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
Checking primetime headlines. As if President Trump doesn't have enough on his plate, the deadline until a possible government shutdown is fast approaching. And then there's the president's plans for DACA. ABC's Karen Travers has more.
Another deadline is looming here in Washington. Lawmakers have until January 19th to reach a spending deal to avoid a government shutdown. And right now, immigration is the biggest sticking point in the negotiations. President Trump was asked Thursday what his message is to the so-called dreamers.
Hopefully everything is going to work out very well. We really want it to work out.
The president has called on Congress to come up with a legislative fix for the hundreds of thousands of young undocumented immigrants brought here as children who were protected under DACA. But Mr. Trump also drew a line in the sand.
Our position has been clear and very clear from the beginning. Any legislation on DACA must secure the border with a wall.
That wall on the U.S.-Mexico border at the top of the list of the president's principles on immigration reform, a list that also includes more interior enforcement, an end to family-based migration, or what the White House calls chain migration, and an end to the diversity visa lottery program in favor of a merit-based immigration system. Democrats are signaling they could go along with those changes to visa programs, but the wall is a non-starter. Both parties say they want a permanent solution to DACA, and negotiations are going well. The big question is how they get there. Democrats want immigration included as part of a deal to fund the government by January 19th. Republicans want to deal with this thorny issue separately. President Trump will sit down next week at the White House with a bipartisan group of lawmakers to talk about how they can reach an agreement on DACA. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Is this just a coincidence? But news tonight that the FBI is reopening a closed investigation into the Clinton Foundation. The FBI and federal prosecutors are investigating whether foundation donors were improperly promised favors or access to Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. In addition, the investigation is looking into whether any of the foundation's tax-exempt funds were misused. A Clinton Foundation spokesperson says the investigation is politically motivated and unfounded. President Trump loves to boast about the economy, but new numbers show the slowest job growth in 6 years. The U.S. economy added more than 2 million jobs in 2017, another solid year of gains, but also a bit of a slowdown from 2016. Wages were also up and unemployment held steady at a 17-year low of 4.1%. And maybe if I say it often enough, it will become true. If I am not here on Monday, here is why. Tonight's Mega Millions drawing has a grand prize jackpot of $445 million. If the winner chooses the cash option, that would pay out just over $277 million. Meanwhile, tomorrow's Powerball jackpot now has reached $570 million, meaning more than $1 billion is up for grabs over the next 2 days. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.